is 9 a.m. We do have a quorum. I'll call the November the 27th, 2018 Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Pastor Brian Taylor's not here from Crossroads Church of Christ, so I'm going to ask Mr. Bear if he'll do our invocation. Everyone please stand.
Heavenly Father, we give you thanks. We are coming off the holiday weekend of Thanksgiving, and we give you thanks for the many blessings that have been provided to us here in Wythe County. We ask that as today you be with us, help lead, guide, and direct, and help this county out in any way that is possible. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning. We'll move into our agenda, citizens' time. Take it nobody has signed up. Does anybody like to speak during citizens' time? This is your opportunity. Hearing none, I'll close citizens' time. Next, we have an introduction of Mike Jones, our new Commonwealth Attorney. Mr. Jones, you want to come up? Congratulations.
Thank you. Been at it, I guess, 20 days now. Was installed the morning after by Judge Showalter, and since then filled two assistant Commonwealth Attorney spots with two local candidates, Kelsey Smith and Will Kilgore, local folks who've just passed the bar back in October. So we're getting them up to speed. I had two assistant Commonwealth attorneys who remained on staff. We had one position open for a legal secretary spot, and that was filled last week. She will start December 3rd. So we will be fully staffed within a few weeks, which is one of my goals. I've already been to each court. Actually, yesterday went to Pulaski and did a special prosecution. So I've been in all of our courts here and in Pulaski, and I'll continue to do that. That's where I feel comfortable. Getting back into the asset forfeitures, getting those filed timely. That was one major concern I'd heard. I don't know if there's anything else, any questions anybody has for me. But that's where we are right now, and we look forward to working with all of you. Anybody has any questions at any time, I am available 24/7. So give me a call or just come stop by and say hi. So.
Okay, Mike. Does anyone have any questions for Mike?
I don't have any questions, but congratulations, and we're excited to have you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure what Mr. Jones's schedule's like. I know we've got the noise ordinance on the agenda. I think it'd be appropriate to either ask him to stay or discuss it now and let him give his opinion, as I assume he would be responsible for the prosecution of any cases that come out of that.
Well, if I could see it, that'd be good. If I could actually look over it and read it. But I'd be glad to do that and answer any questions today, or come back at a later date and whatever you want me to do.
Are you requesting the Commonwealth Attorney review it before we discuss it and get his opinion?
I think that would be appropriate. I assume you would be prosecuting
Yes,
those violations.
we will be prosecuting all town cases and county. So.
Well, we'll set that aside and get Mr. Jones a copy of it, and we'll put it on the agenda for our next night meeting, and we'll discuss it at that point.
Yeah, the only action today was just for the committee to report on their recommendations off of it. It still is going to require another public hearing, so it wouldn't be any action taken on it today. So there's certainly plenty of time for to get a copy to him to review.
When is the night meeting?
December 11th, 7 p.m.
Okay, I will be traveling for new officer comp board training that evening. It's required that I go to Glen Allen, Virginia, for some reason to.
Well, it'll probably be in January before we set a public hearing anyway, so.
I mean, I don't know that, Mr. Jones, I don't know that you'd have to come back if you could just look over. We've kicked it back and forth for
Sure.
how many ever months, and I think we need to get it right.
Okay, yeah.
You know.
And there's some guidance by the Virginia Supreme Court. Virginia Beach went through a noise ordinance mess back 2009, 2010. And that case went all the way to the Virginia Supreme Court. And they set out some guidelines that local organizations, governments need to follow when passing these types of things. So I could definitely help with that.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything for Mr. Jones? Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you need anything for us, just let us know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is payment of invoices. Entertain a motion to approve. Have a second. Have a motion and a second to approve the invoices. Any invoice any board member would like to pull out or discuss? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Next item on the agenda is the minutes of the previous meeting on November the 14th, 2018. Entertain a motion to approve. Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any corrections or changes need to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Old business, abstract of votes. I know that we accepted this, but they have changed a little bit.
Since the numbers have revised, Mr. Chairman, I think you all made action just to accept them last time. I just want to give you the updated numbers. I have already provided you all by email. The revisions between the two was just 2 or 3 votes on a couple of them. I did call Ms. King. She wasn't in on the day I asked, but it was just a minor correction, and the electoral board has signed off on the revised numbers.
Do we want to accept them again?
Probably appropriate, wouldn't it?
Entertain a motion to accept.
I will make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So accepted. Moving into reports, treasury reports. Miss Lori Gwynn. Good morning.
Good morning. Everyone had a good Thanksgiving and ate too much, shopped too much, and now broke, so. But hopefully you shop local. Okay, your financial report for October was included in your board packet that was distributed last week. And in your financial report, our account balance is $59,386,431, and of that, the general fund balance is $30,295,588. And going into the month of November, you'll see that change because, as you're aware, tax bills went out earlier this month, so we have a lot of payments coming in. So November, you'll really see those numbers spike. December, they'll also continue to spike. Possibly even into January because of the deadline extension, depending on how quickly we can get mail worked and things like that, because we have been very inundated with mail and we're trying to get through it as quickly as we can, but it's not a quick process when lines are out the door. So we're trying to get through everything as quickly as we can. But does anyone have any questions on the financial report? And then we'll go to other things if need be.
Anyone have any questions?
Okay. Any other questions on anything at this point? Everyone seems to be very appreciative of the tax deadline extension. However, after expressing appreciation, the very next comment is a complaint because taxes are due December 5th normally. So it kind of balances out, I guess, both ways, but really nobody likes the December 5th due date, but that's what our normal date is. But going into future years, just to let you all know, at this point, I do anticipate tax bills not going out until the 1st of November. And that is simply because you all, as the board, do not approve the tax rate until June 30th. At that point, the Commissioner's Office has 90 days to complete the tax books and transfer a copy over to me. And it's taking us about 2 to 3 weeks to process everything on our side. And I would now estimate if we get the bills to the printers in October, allowing at least 2 weeks before bills are back. So if you all can approve a tax rate sooner going into this next budget year, it would help everybody across the board, not just the offices involved, but our citizens as well. So I'm going to make a request at this point that you try to approve the tax rate by May 30th. And Mr. Bayer and I discussed this when he came down after the last nighttime board meeting, but there's a lot that goes into everything. It's not as easy as pushing a button as a lot perceive it to be. So we do put a lot of work, a lot of time into it. It's not an easy task, but please consider adopting tax rate May 30th, or at least by May 30th, to back everything up at least 30 days and get bills out the 1st of October. Okay. But that's kind of all I have on that, but I just want to make that plea to you at this point, just because of the way the timeframes work out. I do anticipate if tax rate is not approved until June, just because of the 90 days, it will be early November. So either you all are going to have to continue to extend the due date year after year, and then when we do finally have a due date of December 5th, there's going to be a lot of discord among our folks because the due date's been changed back to the normal date. So, but does anybody have any questions on anything
Lori,
tax related?
On the taxes, on you talking about the due date on December the 5th, you'll set people up to make payments throughout the year, correct?
Oh, yes. We accept prepayments throughout the year. So a lot of folks choose to do that. Of course, many don't. We collect probably $200,000 at least throughout the year for prepayments, and we make that comment to folks when they come in. Because we're in a public meeting, I'm not going to tell you what the general response is that we get back, but in essence, they're not going to give us their money to use throughout the year, and I'm not going to tell you why and everything else that goes along with it. But a lot of people do that. I mean, a lot of folks, I'm working through about 75 refunds right now, and they're folks that have prepaid all year long, and they've paid more than what they owe, so we're in the process of refunding those back. Some people get a bill, they owe a small balance. Others just would rather wait till they get the bill and know exactly what they're going to pay and pay it then. But we're all human, and it's our human nature for any of us. We're generally not satisfied, so it's just the way that it is.
But I guess, my main point was there's options.
Oh, yeah.
Because, we hear, December's the worst time of the year.
Right, because of Christmas.
Because of Christmas. And I understand that, but, there's options out there.
Right.
Because,
There
and I'll ask you this, there was a question at our last meeting, who's responsible for setting the date? We hauled around, whether it was us or you. I thought it was us, some thought it was you, so.
I'm going to pass the
ultimately-
buck, it falls on
Yeah,
you all, so. And a lot of people say, well, can't you change the date? If it was earlier in the year, put it in the spring, because I sell my cattle then, or that's when I get my income tax refund. In all reality, it does not matter what due date is chosen. It's still going to be inconvenient for some of us, and it's just the fact of it. But, a lot of localities have backed their dates up from December 5th. There's some that do November 20th, but then a lot of localities have gone to billing twice per year. So then you get into other things in changing that because, that changes the process for the Commissioner's Office. And, which real estate's the only thing that bills twice per year. You can't bill personal property twice a year. It'd be very difficult. But, I don't really know that there is a good solution. You just try to do the best you can and hope that everybody.
But I guess my
Is
point
okay
was
with it.
you're offering as many options as
Right.
possible. And the drop box, how's that working out?
We're getting payments in it, so people are, noticing the payment options on the back of their bill. Every day I leave and it's dark, and I think I need to take a picture of the box because I need to promote it. Still trying to get my decals, which is a whole nother situation. I'm getting pretty testy about that. So I'm trying to get those so that either our guys, as far as the county maintenance guys, can put them on, or the person that's made them has offered to put them on. But I'm trying to get those in because I really want to get those decals on there so we can promote that box a little bit better, because a lot of people are, it's just some random box that's sitting out there right now, so they're not sure what it is. But hopefully I can get that decaled very soon. I thought that 2 weeks ago as well, and 2 weeks before that. But I think that will be good. It will just take time for people to catch on to it, because some folks are comfortable with putting their payment in there and others aren't. We're at the busy time. Come and visit us anytime. You don't have to be paying your taxes. You can come and sit in one of the chairs, or hang out in the hallway with our security folks and talk to everybody as they're currently waiting in line, because we've had lines since November 5th. So, but that's a good thing. Of course, right now, touching on that, we've collected a tad bit less than 15% of our taxes that we billed out. So right now, we're a little over $3 million. And that's as of through Friday. That does not include any collections for yesterday at this point. So yesterday was a big day, and as I said, we've got a lot of mail we're trying to get through. So a lot of those are the bank payments that come in on real estate and things like that. So we can get those in, and that'll up our numbers quite a bit as well. So, but that's kind of where we're at. But please, anybody come down. We'll give you a bottle of water. We'll find a cup of coffee. Anything that you need, we'll gladly accommodate you, and you can hang out with us. So we promise a fun time, so don't be bashful.
Anyone have any more questions for Lori? Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
I don't see Ms. Barker this morning. Mr. Lawson, do you have anything from the Sheriff's Department? Okay. We'll move right on into the Water Committee report.
All right, the Water Committee met on November 20th, 2018, and made the following recommendation. First, to increase the Water Department's petty cash fund from $500 to $750 for an additional kill drawer.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions or discussion? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Ball?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye.
Number 2 is enter into an agreement with Hurt and Profit to prepare a PER that provides alternatives and cost estimates for completing the required inline chlorine monitor and recording system, and the additional treatment of UV disinfectant, filter, etc. at the Fort Chiswell Well Number 2 site. The proposed fee is $5,600.
Again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Mr. Pryor, you want to explain what we're doing?
Yeah, basically, a letter in your package on page 26, I believe it is, of your board package. Letter from the Health Department, October 29th, that determined that the Fort Chiswell Well Number 2 is determined to be a groundwater source and is not under the direct influence of surface water. However, they do recommend some additional installation of the ultraviolet disinfection or other systems in there to treat that water. So that is a primary water source for us and keeps us from buying the water from the New River Regional Water Authority. This PER will determine what the cost of this will be, and then we will have figures to decide whether we need to implement this or whether it would be better to just start purchasing the water directly from the New River Regional Water Authority.
Okay. Again, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any more questions? Discussion? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion
And the
passes.
The third thing is to approve the annual septic treatment memorandum of understanding with Pepper Springs Regional Wastewater Treatment Authority.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any questions or discussion? Hear none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Ball?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Anything else from Water Committee?
Unless there's something else came up, I think that was it.
Okay, Personnel Committee. Do you want to go ahead and talk about the changes on the ordinance?
I think that we can go ahead and discuss it. Since we still have to have the public hearing, I don't think it will hurt to discuss it as a full for just what we talked about during Personnel Committee.
Would you like to fill everybody in on?
If y'all would like, unless either one of you all want to address it, the primary changes that were made, under section number 2, prohibited conduct, originally, the proposed ordinance had the hours between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. inserted there. That has been removed, and it has been put back in under 2A number 4 to create plainly audible noises between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. in connection with lawn care, leaf removal, gardening, tree maintenance, removal, landscaping, timbering activities, and unnecessary discharging of firearms. So that means that the rest of the ordinance is in effect during all the hours. These items are particularly, are not to be done between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. The exceptions on the next page, or exemptions on the next page, remain the same as what was indicated in there before, and the same with the report of the violation in number C about the person being aggrieved. But this seemed to get it back to making the changes that were required, putting the exemptions that were required, but keeping it in effect throughout the all hours of the day.
Does any board member, any board member have any questions on what the changes are?
The only question I have is on, I guess, section A, number 1, is gunfire still exempt, target shooting? That was one of my complaints, that under the old ordinance, you couldn't go out on your property and shoot skis or target shoot, because under the old one, if somebody called in, you'd be in violation. I know we put the unnecessary discharge of firearms on the 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I don't, maybe Mr. Farthing can answer whether a firearm would be considered a other machine or device capable of producing sound.
I think they're exempted from, I guess, complaints or whatever, as long as it's not between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. You can shoot freely all day long, but stop shooting at 11 p.m.
That was my,
Yeah. Because it's a separate section in there saying that you cannot do this activity between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., meaning you can do it the rest of the time.
Okay.
That's how I interpret that.
That does not mean that you still can't take a complaint. Out in the county, we've got 125-foot lots. If somebody wants to hold a shooting match next door to my bedroom and I work at night, I'm not going to be very happy.
Right.
But that's something for the judge to work it out.
I mean, they can come and talk to them and ask them to stop, but they won't be violating the ordinance.
Any other questions?
Now, a couple of options you got, Mr. Chairman. One, we can certainly wait and get input back from Mr. Jones. We could also look at if you wanted to set a public hearing for it, but if you'd rather wait and get some input, see if you want to make some changes, and then we'll schedule it, because I'm like you, I don't think December 11th, there's not really a lot of time to get it advertised for then. The next opportunity would be the January 11th meeting. So we have time, and in fact, Mr. Jones may not be able to come to a meeting, but if necessary, we could have him meet with the Personnel Committee to review any recommendations, and then bring those changes back to the board following that.
It would be January the 8th.
Yep. And we can set that at the next night meeting if he's had an opportunity to review it before then, and that would be fine.
Okay, let's just put that on the agenda to set the public hearing on December the 11th.
Did you all have any other questions about it or concerns before we meet again?
Okay, hearing none, we'll move along with our agenda. County Administrator's report.
First item, Mr. Chairman, is just the Crystal Springs Recreation Access Road. VDOT has approved that for construction, which is good news for us. That means it frees up additional money on our 6-year plan. So going into next April, May timeframe, when we are adjusting our plan, that road can come off and the additional roads can be looked at being added to the plan. And also we'll move some up. So good information there. I don't have any type of a time frame from them yet on when they'll be starting that work. But next item is just the memo on the exit 24 sewage collection system. We have received all paperwork and certificates to operate there, so it is operating lawfully and within the system. And hopefully within the near future, there'll be another business connecting on down there and providing sewer service to them also. So just information for you all on that one.
Okay.
Are the flows adequate for the package plant?
To my knowledge, so far, everything's been adequate. The, a tremendous increase on weekends with the rest area up there, not the rest area, but the restaurant and subway and truck stop area up there. The flows are much better than were anticipated coming off of that, so that's helped out a lot. And the final item is just the input sessions by the Planning Commission. The first one being tonight at 7 o'clock, at Real Retreat Elementary School cafeteria. Thursday night, 7 o'clock here, and then 7 p.m. next Tuesday at Sheffey Elementary School cafeteria. They are looking for, obviously, input into the capital improvements plans. Any of you are welcome to attend all of them or any of them in your area that you would like. We've been trying real hard on social media to work on getting the word out on to have more input. So, it's always difficult getting individuals to come out and put input, but it's like you all said at board meetings, that's what we want to see. We want to see people coming and providing some input. So anyway, that's the schedule on it, and if there are any questions on anything, be glad to answer them.
And we're doing a drawing for a $100.
There's a $100 gift card that at the end of all 3 sessions, the name will be drawn out and a winner will be selected. So that's sort of try to entice people to come out. You have a chance to win the $100 gift card right before Christmas.
Are we eligible for that?
No.
The corner wanted me to ask. Don't quit. As I told a couple of the employees yesterday, I was like, when you're on the radio, you always hear that employees of Cumulus and Cumulus Media and everything else are not eligible. I said the same applies for the county staff here. So
And that gift card was donated. It's
Yes.
not taxpayer dollars.
that is a donated gift card.
Okay, Mr. Barry, you have anything else?
No, sir, that's all I've got today.
Mr. Farthing, County Attorney's report.
Yeah, just one thing, the agreement with Evitran to repay back, or to pay back the grant money the county gave to Evitran some years ago. Mr. Huff, who guaranteed that payback, had signed that agreement, is ready to mail a check to us as soon as we endorse the agreement. We've discussed this before. I just wanted to have it here and ask the board to authorize Mr. Reeves to sign the agreement. And then I think the JIDA has already signed it, I
Yes.
believe. So that way I can email it to him today and he can mail a check to us
Okay.
for the first payment. He's going to make 3 payments to pay back the $100,000.
Okay, I entertain a motion.
I have a question.
Yes, well, let's do the motion in second, then we'll open it up for
Okay.
discussion. Entertain a motion
So moved.
to have a second.
Second.
I have a motion second, and open up the floor for discussion.
Will that interest carry through like it was proposed?
It does not. There was nothing in the original agreement charging interest on the payback. So the former CEO of Evitran proposed to do that when they were still trying to stay alive and functioning, but they've gone under. This is the guarantor that's paying this back, and there's no interest requirement in the grant agreement. that
Well,
we had with-
what's the span of this payback? How long is it gonna take for?
6 months, I think. He's making one payment of 50,000 and then two payments of 25 each.
April 30th, 2019 is the last payment.
So the first payment was November, which we're behind on because we hadn't signed it yet, so he hadn't mailed the check. And then January and then April.
In April, then he would get the release for the
That's correct.
federal credit. All right, thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the settlement agreement and approve me to sign it. Do a roll call vote, Mr. Falk,
Aye.
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 and the chair votes aye. Anything else, Mr.
That's all I
Falk?
have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Board of Supervisors report, Black Lake District, Mr. Falk.
Mr. Chairman, I'd request that we go in closed session. I'd like to discuss a personnel matter. You can skip me if you want to finish up, and then we go in
Do
closed
it
session.
at the end of the,
Do what?
do it at the end of the board
Yes,
meeting? Okay, that's what we'll do. District 2, West Whipple.
No, this is fine.
District 3, East Whipple.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I did have a complaint, or maybe more of a concern, from a citizen in my area. And you all may have discussed this before, I might just not be aware of it, but you would think that there would be some type of an agreement between the county and the town as far as using sporting facilities. Just an example that this citizen was concerned about. The town rec center uses the county school football fields. I don't know if there's a charge for that. There's not one that I'm aware of. But the county school swim teams, like the George Wythe Fort Chiswell Rural Retreat high school swim teams, have to pay to even practice at the rec center. So my son, for instance, is on the swim team. If we didn't have a family pass, he would have to pay for a day pass to even practice. And I'm not sure. She said that there are fees to even have the swim meets. So I don't know if that's something you all have discussed. You would think there would be some type of an agreement there, since they use county fields and schools. Something we could kind of look into, or?
We could discuss it, but really, the use of the fields is the school board allowing us to do it, and the school board would really be the ones that would have to work the agreement out with the town on this. I have been there, I understand it, because I have disagreed with it. My children were in the same situation, but for all the use of facilities and everything that the school board allows for the town to do, that the town does provide, or does require, that individual members of the swim team have a pass plan in order to participate or practice at that facility. It's really more of a school board town issue. I mean, it's something we could certainly enter into the discussions with them and talk about, since we do a lot of the rec programs jointly with them. But it's not as much of a county event in this situation. But I don't understand. I mean, I disagree with it. I don't understand their rationale for it.
And I didn't know where to start with it. She's pretty angry about it. I don't ever want to, not let them use, that's not what I'm saying. I would just think it could kind of go both ways. So like I said, I didn't know where to start, so maybe we can look into it.
If you'd like, I can discuss it with the town manager, just to find out what's going on, and just report back to you all.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
And, well, I don't like them, the town charging county residents more than the town charge town residents to use the wellness center either, so that's a sore subject with me, but
If it's something that's really between the school board and the town, maybe we could, if you talk to the town manager, maybe we could give support to the school board.
Well, my question is, I understand what Mr. Bear's saying, but it's easy to say it's between the school board and the town, but we fund the school board. You know, Mr. Hale likes to talk about that infamous $10,000 worth of fertilizer. The majority of that's going on that.
19,000.
Well,
19.
But the majority of that, one could argue, is going on those football fields, which we're letting the town use. And, you know, I agree with Ms. Lawson and Chairman Reeves. It's, you know, all the schools have their proms up there, and they barely cut them a break. And I think a good partnership goes both ways, and I don't think that one's going but one way.
Does the swim teams, are they endorsed by the school, or did each school has one, or is it like the,
Each school has a swim team, but they practice all together at the same time, and they share coaches in the process.
even with George Wythe and,
George Wythe, Royal Retreat, and Fort Chisholm. And I don't know if there's anyone from Royal Retreat swimming or Fort Chisholm this year swimming.
but it's just, is it just one swim team?
It's that you can't, by high school rules, even if it's just one kid from Royal Retreat, it's still a Royal Retreat high school swim team, a Fort Chisholm swim team, and a George Wythe.
I know when my kids was, and I know it's been ages, it was one swim team.
The town still runs a rec league swim team that is one swim team.
Okay.
But the high school teams, or what Ms. Lawson's talking about, they are the ones that have to pay. Like, if you're going to be on the swim team at Wytheville, you pay the fee to be on the Wytheville Waves swim team, whatever that is, and you do all the practice and stuff like that. There's not a fee that goes with it. Like, you don't have to have a pass plan plus a fee. You paid to do that. But for the high school swim teams, this is what she's talking about. They charge them for individuals to have a pass
But is the
plan.
Wiffle swim team, Wiffle Waves, I mean, they have to pay, is that what goes towards the use of the facility?
Yes. I mean, I'm assuming it does. I mean, it goes towards the coaches and the.
So really, everybody's paying?
And it's still the same, like all things. If you're outside the town limits, you pay a higher amount to be on the Wytheville Waves swim team or anything
You would
else.
pay to be on the Wytheville Waves team.
Pretty much, I think
the
it's
same
like
as you
a
would
10.
pay to be on the basketball,
Yeah.
Little League, Rec Center basketball. So that's kind of separate.
You get a 10% discount if you're in town, I think is what it is on everything, if you're a town resident.
Is that all you have,
Yes,
Ms.
thank
Lawson?
you.
Okay, Fort Chisholm District.
I had a question for, I guess, Mr. Vaughn. Can you give us an update on what's going on with the demolition at exit 80 of the gas station down there? I've had two queries about, is VDOT going to require a turn lane being put in there? I have a concern that we're pushing VDOT to do something about those exits. It looks like reconstruction's about to happen on that property. Does the county know anything about what's happening there?
You want to go?
The property and the old restaurant have all been combined into one business. They're going to use the old Judy site for the store and rearrange all the pumps, but I don't think there's any change in the entrancing. There might be some curb and gutter involved, a little bit, but as far as the entrance permits are concerned, no turn lane or anything that I noticed on the drawings for that.
What kind of legal precedent do we have about review since we're not zoned? Can we get those tanks and no new construction within the parameters of what VDOT will need when they go to fix that interchange? Have y'all approved the plan already?
That plan's been approved, and Mr. Spraker has been looking at the
Building
visual
plan.
side of that.
Yeah.
But as far as the tanks are concerned, that's DEQ underground storage tank program. We have no purview over that, per se.
We might have though if they're redoing them, Bill. If we know that corner there, you know where the tanks are on that property?
Right.
To ever get that interchange fixed, somebody's got to give up some property right there. And if we allow a new structure to be built in that corner without even bringing up the question, it's gonna cost more later, or will delay us ever getting that interchange fixed.
I know they're refiguring the fueling station
Yeah.
part of that, whether they're actually moving the USTs or not, I'd have to go back and look at the drawings. They were just remaining in place.
Would you please look into that and see if
But other
a
than.
word of caution might help?
But other than that, there's nothing that we could do with our site plan or things on that in the process of restricting it. The only thing would be is if they did any type of re-subdividing and combining of lots, and we put setbacks on the lots or anything like that in the subdivision process, but that would be the only thing we
Well,
could
that
control.
wasn't one property in the past, was it?
No, it was two separate properties, and I don't know if they've combined them together in the process or not. But
And
other than those setbacks, there's not much that.
and those
we can do.
setbacks are, in that corner, would be an overlapping angle, wouldn't it, Bill?
Yeah, 30 foot.
So-
VDOT's reviewed the drawings, and VDOT has reviewed the drawings, of course, for the entrances and things, but I'm not aware of any comments they made concerning location of the USTs.
But you guys would review the setbacks off of both state right-of-ways. Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Hill?
No, that's-
Okay. Lead Mines District, Mr. McRoberts.
Yeah, I have a couple things I want to say. The road that goes through the middle of Ivanhoe, they finally told us it's gonna pave it next year. I sure hope we don't take the wrong pavement and have 619. He promised he's gonna pave it this summer. He still ain't paving nothing. And I ain't sure that they're going to, because it's gonna be snowing for long.
Mr. Russell will be here at 10 o'clock this morning. So,
Okay. Speedwell District, Mr.
I don't
Horny.
have anything at this time.
I don't see my name on this one, but I don't have anything at this time. We move into new business, consent calendar. Entertain a motion to approve. Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments or discussion on anything in the consent calendar? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Vaught?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
And the chair votes aye. Next item is Apex Construction update. Mr. Farr?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, of course, you will have an opportunity to see the building this afternoon. Just wanted to go over where we were on it and some things that you won't see out there. Pretty much the framing of all the bleachers is in place. You may see them putting some of the boards down this afternoon when you were there. They worked over the weekend on the framing. They were in there Sunday doing work. We went by just checking to see how everything was coming along. The outside of the building, the primary two items that I have been expressing the most concern about to the contractor has been the access road and the parking lot in front of the building. As Mr. McRoberts mentioned, concerns about VDOT and getting paving done before it gets any colder. I've been extremely concerned, working with Mr. Vaughn to at least make certain that the parking lot is getting asphalt on it, because it is our handicap parking lot. Once again, the rain has been the biggest delay of slowing up in there. But we've recommended some steps for them to do to improve the drainage and all off there, so that when it rains, we're getting more of it flowing off and they can work quicker. But they are still intending on having that parking lot completed this week, if they can get it weather permittable to do so. The entrance road is being worked on also. They're currently working on the ditch lines down through the entrance road, and should soon be putting in the stone down through there for the access road. As far as the Ready Mix Road, the They have gone out, been marking everything on it, and should be starting on it this week also, on working on the ready mix, all the curb and guttering in there and improving that part of it. A couple more of our no parking signs have gone down in the process, but I'm not going to replace them until we get the curb and gutter up in place there, and that will make it a much more defined route going through there. Inside the building, there are still a few closeout items they're working on. One of the biggest items being the sinks inside the building, and they are anticipating that by the first of next week. They still feel on the inside of the building that everything should be completed by next week on it, all things permittable. I've asked them, I have delayed putting the media mix on the inside yet because the floor, with the driving across the floor, showed some areas they had not compacted well and had some dip areas, and they are going to get those compacted and more dirt brought in first, and then we'll proceed with putting the sand and material in on top of that.
Did he get the countertops in for the bathroom sinks?
No, that's the one that's been delayed, and they have made a change and are getting a new type of countertop sink to go in there. Should
They
be
got
in
the
first
3
next
bay
week.
sinks in and the
3 bay sinks,
They're supposedly coming this week.
yeah. The sand sinks are in there, the 3 bay sinks were not in there as of Sunday.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, what about the gas? Is the gas up and checked out and permitted?
The pad is ready, the pad is completed, it just remains for Hall Propane to set their tanks and run the pipe and put in the regulator. So they were not there yesterday, but they are aware that it's available for them to complete their work.
Well,
Make another call to them to tell them with weather, it's critical that they get those set. They requested an additional line running into the building that was larger than the line that was currently installed into the building. For future, my opinion was set your tanks and go ahead and run through the 2-inch line there. It's more than enough capacity to handle what you've got. And they haven't done that, but we are working with Owens to go ahead and put in the 4-inch line to handle should it need the larger size.
Please tell me there hadn't been any testing done on the sprinkler system yet. It's still dry.
No, they've tested it for static pressure, it just has not been completely tested because the double check is not in yet.
Static pressure by air, or did they put water in it and then put air on it? What we're going to do when it freezes, it's supposed to be in the teens or in the single digits tonight.
Well, so far, the interstitial monitors have indicated, even with, we've been down to upper 20s last week, but we were still holding in the 40s in the overhead. Because we've got the bathrooms and the other rooms with the heat going up into those open sections, those are on. The heat pumps are running, so we're pumping heat in that area. But you're right,
So the occupied areas, you are sure they're on?
they're on, yeah.
Because the monitor, we can't help it. If it says it's going to freeze, we don't have any way to stop it from freezing.
Other than opening up the pipe and let it drain.
Very concerning.
Any other questions?
I've got a couple more on it. What's the status of the lightning arrestor system? Do you know why they haven't been back?
Nope, in fact, I queried them last week, I queried them again this morning, said, where are you? I know they've done a few things up top, and they just stopped.
We haven't paid them any money, have we?
Nope, they sent an invoice, and I've asked for an itemized accounting of all the parts and pieces, and where are they, and what kind of work they've done. That was from their billing person, and she wrote back and said, I don't answer those questions, so I've got to send it back to Mr. Quayle, the project manager. I need information before we pay you a check.
Their grounding field, have they indicated where it's going to be?
Their salt packs are going to be on either end of the building at the gable ends, which, as you know, we're getting ready to do final grading there. And I told them, I said, you got to get in here and get them in the ground before we finish our grading.
So these things have to be coordinated, or it's not going to happen.
As well as I told him that we want to get on the floor with the soil next week, so we want lifts off of that floor this week. And he's got some overhead work to do. He's got lift work he needs to be out of there this week.
Who's dealing with Hall gas? Because that's just a little bit of pipe work and them setting their tanks, isn't it?
Set the tank, they run their line through the pipe that we already have in place for the carrier pipe and setting the regulator. That's all they have left to do. And then we can test the heaters and turn them on.
One last one on the road. Have we moved forward with stopping that water that's coming down Ready Mix Road and turning into the special ditch?
There's a little bit of a hump right there that's keeping it from doing that. So, and we've talked with the contractor.
We raise the grade a little bit with the paving we do. We can always put kind of an inverted swale in there to keep it shooting down Ready Mix Road.
Well, if you look right there where that first hydrant is, it's got the pipe. There's a very defined ditch from there all the way down through there, but there's a 50 or 60 foot gap there that there's not a ditch.
Right, it's a sheet flowing right there. And with the paving, we can put enough of an elevation distance there to direct that water.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, next is our site visits this afternoon. We do have one more thing. We'll entertain a motion to go on the closed section under 2.2-3711A1 on personnel. Have a second. Second. Have a motion and second. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are now in closed session. Motion come out of closed session. Have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are now out of closed session. Entertain a motion to certify closed session.
Whereas the Wythe County Board of Supervisors has convened a closed meeting on this day pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and according to the provisions of Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711, 3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors that such a meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wythe County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies. And only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Wythe County Board of Supervisors.
Have a second on certifying the resolution.
Second.
We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Next, Mr. Russell. Come on up.
Brought the whole team, didn't you, Jeff?
We'll square up the numbers, Joe. Good morning. I'll give y'all a quick update on what we have going on. Looking at our 6-year plan, currently they're working on Nixon Road. They've started construction there. We're going to put down base stone. The weather kind of caught us on that, so that's the next step on that project. The Pump Hollow Road that we have on the 6-year plan, we did get approval for recreational access funding. So that will cover the cost of that improvement, and that $160,000 we had slated for Pump Hollow can be put back into other roads and advance them. I guess as soon as the weather breaks, we will start on, we've got Miller's Creek we're looking at, we've got Grouse Ridge Road we're looking at, and Major Graham Road, it was approved for the high volume secondary funding as well, and that's additional, that's money that we won't have to spend for the 6-year program. So we've got in with those programs. That's what we will be focused on as soon as we're permits next spring. And they could start this December. This just depends on the weather. Right now, we're still trying to get caught up. finished up with all the hurricane damage, the flooding that we had. They still have projects going on from that put us behind a little bit. Construction projects. The bridges over Reed Creek, getting ready to start those, and those are interstate bridges. Those projects will be under construction probably towards the end of 2021. Another upcoming project that has been bid out. I spoke with the construction division this morning. They're probably going to start as soon as early next calendar year is the I-81 acceleration lane extension. That's where you come in 77 south and you get onto 81. Currently, you have to merge over, and then if you want to get off exit 73, you got to get back. So we're just going to tie the acceleration lane and the deceleration lane for 73. We're going to make that a through lane where you don't have to make that merge. So that should be started early next year.
Is there bridge relocation involved in that, or is it all grade work?
I think there's a box
But-
culvert extension.
Okay.
That's kind of the update that I have there. Corey, I know you had asked about 619, that's been on your radar. Basically, I've talked to the construction division, that's a contractor that's paving it. Of course, like I told you, he had told us the week after November 19th, they were supposed to have done it. It hasn't been done yet. They did pave some last week, but with the weather the way it is, that's going to prolong that. So at what point it will get done, I still don't know. The latest, I gave you the latest update I had. So
This man right here, he lives down there. He's the one that got questioned me. That's Larry Scott. And he's the one that called about the road.
right.
He said he's been 9 years.
Mr. Chairman, would be out of place for me to.
Now, go ahead if you want to say something. Come on up.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come up here this morning. I've been aiming to come up for some time. I haven't made it back up here. I moved back to Wythe County. I'm retired military. I was born and raised here. I moved back to Wythe County about 20 years ago. In 2009, I come up and I addressed about 619. I believe it was 2009. It might have been before that. I'm not exactly sure how long it has been. If you look back through the records. But anyway, we talked a little bit about the road at that time. In the past 20 years, 619 has had the tar put down and the gravel put over the top of it before 619, probably. Before 2009. But anyway, I addressed the board about that. Really didn't do a whole lot. How many people sitting in front of me right now has been on 619 within the last 3 or 4 years? Okay, well, you know what I'm talking about. And what really puzzled me, I came up on vacation, and as you cross New River and turn left to go 619 to 94, there's been a lot of work on it. It was patched, they tarred it down, I guess, and it's all blacktop. Good road across through there. But if you turn right and go down 619 toward 52, you will probably see one of the worst roads in this state. The wife and I, we travel the state a lot. 619 is a disaster. It's a crime. It's a sin to have a road like that in this county. You have to dodge the chug holes. I did see a guy over one time with a pickup truck and a little bag of something to put in a hole. But I'm telling you, if you get the opportunity, you go over and you ride down 619. It is absolutely unbelievable. I was going to take some photos and brought them up here and bring them up here, but I didn't have the opportunity to do that this morning. My schedule was, but I appreciate y'all listening to me. And I'm not the only one over there, especially since they went out and turned left and ran it out to 94 and forgot about all this. I got 5 tax letters in the mail within the last few weeks for me to pay my taxes, which I do every year, along with everybody else over there. But I'm telling you, if you get the opportunity, please ride over 619. Mr. Chairman, I think I talked to you about this one time before, about 4 or 5 years ago. We were told that that road was going to be being done by 1 July. That we was told that that road was going to be done. Then we were told that that road was going to start being paved the first part of November. Nothing has been done. Absolutely nothing. And you don't have to take my word for it. You know, I wonder about things. You know, there's drop-offs on that road up there. And some of them drop-offs, I'm not talking about on 619, but over in that area, there's drop-offs that deep. Okay? Now, we're pretty experienced drivers. But what if a teenager runs off there, or a new driver? What are these people doing? What are they doing? That's what I want to know. We all work for somebody, just like this gentleman works for somebody. I've never met him before, but I can tell you right now, that road, I've seen roads in I spent over 20 years in the military. I've seen roads in third world countries that look better than that road over there. Now, I don't know if anything's going to get done, but you know, it's disheartening to see something like that and have to put up with it day after day after day. And we have school buses on there. We have inexperienced drivers that drive that road. They paved one little section last year because there were so many wrecks on it. Y'all remember that? They paved one section of that because there were so many accidents in the curve. Why didn't they just go and do the whole thing? We're talking about probably a half to 3/4 of a mile. Right, sir? Half to 3/4 of a mile is what we're talking about. And nothing getting done. Absolutely nothing. The 2 intersections at Fort Chisholm are the worst I've ever seen. I drove over 2 million miles as a tractor and trailer driver, and I have never in my life seen 2 intersections like we got down here at Fort Chisholm. You know it. You've seen it. I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity. I'm sorry if I come across too forceful. I am very, very, very frustrated.
Thank you, and I will say, you know, and I'm not going to pack it all on Mr. Russell, because he does the best he can do with what he's got to work with. Well, I know, but, you know, you need to talk to your senator and delegates too, because, you know, the VDOT's a state agency, and that's who you need to talk to really to get more done than what's getting done. I mean, Mr. Russell can only do with what they send down from the Bristol district what's going to be done. And
I've heard that same thing before.
But that's the way it works. I mean, you know, the county doesn't have anything to do with road maintenance here in the county. We put roads on the 6-year plans. We work with VDOT, but we're at the mercy of the state of what money is allocated to Wythe County and to the district to what we can get done in the district. And I know and Jeff can say it's on the schedule to be paved. It's been contracted out. Now, I'm like you. I don't know why it's taking the contractor so long to get it done. You know, and it's just like the intersections. You know, we're at the mercy of the Transportation Board of how much funding, the smart scale applications that go in, of what gets funded in the county to get improved. I mean, we fight tooth and nail with the Transportation Board to get money in this region to keep it from going all over the rest of the state. I mean, to get our fair share, to get some of these things taken care of, like exit 77, exit 80. They did fix the lane coming on 77 north, 81 south. They did extend it up to the bridge, and I think that's helped a lot. But you know, I feel for you. You know, I wish things could get done faster, and you know, and I'm sure Mr. Russell would like to see things get done faster. But he's got people he answers to too, and like I said, you need to not only talk to us, you need to talk to Senator Senator Suderline and Delegate Campbell, and bring it to their attention. They're the ones in the General Assembly that allocates this money to VDOT to get these things done. And we talk to them, we preach to them, but we need citizens like you to preach to them too. And I hope that's kind of answered your question. And I'll let Mr. Russell talk and answer some of the questions. He ain't answered any better than I've gave you a answer to.
Well, okay.
I mean, you know,
But I'm beginning to get the feeling now I'm not going to get any results.
well, it's scheduled. Mr. Russell just told us it's in the contractor's hands to get done.
It's scheduled many times before, Mr. Chairman. I want you to look at it from my side, okay? You don't have to travel that way. I do. Every day. And then, Mr. Chairman, I'm a little surprised you haven't seen this road.
Oh, I've seen it. I know what kind of shape it is. As long as, and I've been on him for Painter Hill Road, going through the middle of Ivanhoe, that's in horrible shape. That needs to be paved.
We have a lot of traffic, especially, you know, they do the pumpkin thing over there every year. Tractor and trailers all up and down that road, one after another, then all the way through there. But I want you, and I'd like the board members to understand what I'm talking about, is because I have to travel that road, and I know that road is bad, and you know that road is bad, and we're not getting any results.
And I'll personally bring your concerns to Senator Steenline and to Delegate Campbell myself.
I'll be writing and calling some senators and governors or whatever I have to do to get it done. But you know what? That's sad that we have to do things like that. That's really sad that, you know, this old private citizen, Larry Scott, has got to do that. But, you know, I'm doing the best I can.
Well,
I've talked to Corey many times about that. And you know, I think he's done what he can do, but, you know, we're still not getting any results. And, you know, it wastes my time if I come across this board and I don't get any results.
I mean, you bring it to our attention. I mean, we do have a voice. I mean, we do talk to the senators and delegates and to Richmond and Mr. Russell. And hopefully it helps that the board, we are elected, you know, officials from the county. The county citizens has elected us.
Who does the parking lot at the APEX Center?
Who?
Is it a private contractor?
Yeah.
That's doing it. And, you know, I support that. I think it's a great thing coming into the county. But, you know, I just heard Mr. Byrne talking this morning about all the paving and everything that's going on up there, and the road and everything going through it. And I understand that, okay? I'm not narrow-minded enough. But it's the private contractor doing that. So I think that private contractor come over and do that half-mile, three-quarters of a mile road. Am I asking too much?
Well, in my understanding, it is a private contractor that's got the contract to do that road.
And we get it on the back burner.
I don't, you know, I'm gonna ask Mr. Russell how that works, you know, as far as the priorities go, because I have no idea.
I just know that we've got a super bad road over there. We're not getting any of that done.
I think to answer your last question, the Apex Center, that's being funded by the county. That has nothing to do with state roads.
Yeah.
The responsibility of the state, the responsibility to pave state roads falls on VDOT. That's not the county's responsibility. And pretty well Coy has been talking to me about every time, and even in between when I see him, asking about 619. We have it on the schedule, that's all we can do. Why the contractor has not gotten it completed yet, it's just the road that was at the end of his schedule. We're at his mercy. I cannot mandate what road they choose to do first, but I can mandate when the contract is complete. It will be completed. It may be next spring before information is ready. They told me, you don't want to talk more. But it is on the schedule. Now, you also asked about 619 going left. That is a slurry seal contract. That is not paving. What you're going to get is plant mix. A lot better product, a lot more expensive. What went left is slurry seal. Two different contracts. But it is on the schedule to be completed.
Jeff, while you're calming down there a little bit, Did the slurry seal contractor, was his responsibility to pick up all these signs he left scattered all over the county?
Yeah, you would think.
I want to start collecting them for him. I think they have recycling value.
We, Joe, I think a couple of weeks ago, even in Grayson County, they left signs out and we went to picking them up. And I think they did in Wythe County too. If they haven't, they need to be picked up.
Well, either that or leave them there till we stripe it the next time.
No, they need to be picked up. It looks like they would have, because, you know, that's a
Yeah,
considerable investment.
they're not free.
No, they're on the trash bank,
No, these are not on Pepper's Ferry Road. That's been months,
They still have some on 619.
do they?
Well, they're still working on 619.
Yeah, and promised to do more. They didn't want to haul them back. Is that the same slurry mix crew that's been working all over the county?
One contractor got.
All the slurry mix mileage? You didn't mention the blowouts. Do you know anything, Andy, have any updates on the pipe blowouts on Millers Creek?
Yeah, those are structures, those pipes are, and basically the bridge division has been notified, they've looked at it, and they're working with Elknott, subcontractor, to replace those. So I think the pipe has been ordered, and they're working with Elknott schedule to get out there.
The last I heard, Joe, we would too have to get the permits, water quality permits before we could replace the pipe. And one of the pipes, they were going to put in 3 lines instead of the 2 that was up, so they increased capacity.
That's that one upstream that blows every time. But I don't know whether y'all have seen it or not, but at the pipe at Heather Lane, it's 3 pipes there, but only 2 of them are functional. That last timber come down, crushed the end of that pipe. So it's going to blow, and then there'll be 3 up there.
And I think that was scheduled to be
And,
probably replaced.
yeah, it turns it down pretty good. But you say it's still in Bristol?
The bridge division is already working with the subcontractors to, and I know that the subcontractors been overwhelmed with all the damage repair and Michael for us, so basically just working through the priority list to get through that project.
They're in the queue. It's not as easy as taking something out there and just digging a hole and throwing a pipe in it. It works. They are scheduled to be done.
Well, if they're dealing with DEQ, it would make a lot more sense to me if we could keep the water in the creek instead of the water being in the road. And that would, you'd think that that's what DEQ would like to happen. And in those big blowouts, we lose hundreds of tons of crusher run or 21As every time it gets out and takes its old course. And then you can't go retrieve it.
And I don't think, Joe, that DEQ is prohibiting us from making improvements. But then again, we're right back at the problem.
The permitting.
Funding to make the improvement. I mean, I'd like to have enough funding to pay every road with every year.
Well, let me give you a new alibi. Your chief, the man with all the stars, told me the last time we were in Abingdon, and I believe the man's telling the truth, that y'all can only design for a 10-year storm. Well, we're having 2 or 3 10-year storms every summer now. How do we get it to where you can make some local decisions? How long you been here, Jeff?
24, 25 years.
And we've probably spent, in 20 years, I would guess close to $4 million on Millers Creek alone. And it will only continue if y'all can only design for a 10-year storm. I know you have good data. After Camille, because of the rainfall happening, Camille, we changed every formula the state had and started upgrading pipe to the new standard. Well, something's going on now that a 10-year storm, we've had cases on these like Connors Valley and Millers Creek and the trouble spots, Red Hollow Road, that the 10-year storms happen 3 or 4 times in one summer. Who makes a decision to change the manual that you designed to fit the situation at the point of impact, instead of manual saying we can only design for 10-year storm? We all know how to fix the problem, don't we? It's one of two things. We're either constrained by regulation or there's no funding. Everything else is achievable. So we've got a problem. Y'all are constrained, according to the chief, that you can't design except for a 10-year storm on a secondary road. Where do you go to change that?
Pam, do you have an answer? I don't have an answer, Joe. I mean, that's just, at some point, you have to design to some standard. You and I can sit here and say that's not enough, but historically, I mean, I don't know who would make that decision.
Well, does it seem logical that we're all in the business of some type of governance? Does it seem logical that a 10-year storm design is adequate in today's world? And I'm not getting into politics. I don't really give a darn whether you believe in global warming or not. I just want to be able to get home when it rains.
Well, but a lot of the pipes on Mills Creek were put in were probably never designed.
Never sized. You're right.
We have been, as we've been replacing them, we've been putting in bigger pipes, probably per the 10-year storm, and those pipes generally haven't given us any more trouble. But a lot of them, as we replace them, we're going to upsize. That's what I said a while ago. They had a double line of pipe. It washed out. We're going to put in a bigger line of pipe. But we can't do it wholesale and do them all at once. Now, you're saying, is 10-year big enough? I don't know. I'm not qualified to answer that.
We've had this conversation before. If you run the business, you would know that Millers Creek costs you too much to have a road up there. You need to do something about it. If a round pipe, and I assume y'all know the engineering answer to this, I realize with a round pipe, you got to have so many inches to carry so much volume of water. But you can go with an elliptical pipe and carry a lot more water with a lower profile pipe. That's fact. Hydraulics works that way. If we have lost a pipe in the same area 3, 4, 5 times in a 2-year period, why wouldn't we think about a mobile bridge and do away with the whole pipe concept?
Economics, my opinion.
But I'm not, my point is, can we repair it every time, or can we spend a little bit more one time and that's the end of it? See, without record keeping, you don't know how much those pipes have cost you up Millers Creek. But if you kept a little running record, guys, we've spent $2.5 million on Millers Creek in the last 2 years putting in pipes. Maybe that could be a shining example of why we ought to do something different and put in a true structure. See, I don't follow your language about when a pipe becomes a structure, but Andy's tried to explain that one to me, but a pipe's a pipe's a pipe.
I'm gonna ask it a little bit different way. When, when a problem occurs like this, where things get, pipes get washed out time and time again, who looks at it or and say, well, we're spending too much money doing it this way? Who looks at it and suggests that they do it a different way?
It's according to the extent of the damage. Let's say Miller Street, you've got a double line of pipe at Miller Street. One line washes out, or it washes the road out, the pipe's still there. All right? Then we may make the decision, we're just going to put gravel back in, we're not going to pull two good pipes out. But now if it guts the whole thing out and all the pipe comes out, then, first thing in our mind, we need a bigger structure. I mean, that's common sense, and that's how we try to practice. Joe, you look at the line of pipe we put in 2 or 3 years ago. We put in bigger pipe. These floods this summer did not affect that pipe, did it? As well as the one we just put in, that we put the slab in. Did these recent summer storms affect those structures?
No, you're talking about the coated
The last two triple lines of pipe that we put in.
Yeah, Payne put one in, you've never had a problem since.
No, this ain't Payne. We put one in 3 or 4 years ago. Just, we have put
Y'all haven't luckily had one last. The slab worked. That sloping that end is an old concept being brought back, and it works, believe me, it works. I know it's a little bit more labor to slope those ends, but the water went over there at a pretty high rate across that slab. Now they need to get up there and get the trash out of them where they're hung, but as that stuff comes up, it did just take it right on over. And you were right, if it had been a handrail there, it would have had to get 2 feet higher to get over the handrail. But that worked. And my whole point is if we fixed all of them one at a time, wouldn't that be better?
Eventually, Joe, we will, but we can't do them all at the same time.
No, I realize that.
It's just like I just told you. If it guts one of them out and we have to go in there and fix it, we're going to fix it just like we did the last. We're going to put in bigger structures.
Okay.
But if it's something that we can put a patch on and not have to put all our maintenance money towards it, we're going to make it last as long as we can. We're not going to make a wholesale change. I understand it costs money to maintain it, but it costs a whole lot of money to put in a brand new structure.
No, I'm not suggesting you come and tear out a functioning pipe to put in all new pipes. That's crazy.
Right.
And I'm called thrifty instead of cheap. But when we lose a pipe and keep putting back the same pipe we lost, it just doesn't make sense. So you're telling me.
I don't know the pipe that we've lost, we put back the exact same thing. I may be wrong, but that's not our normal practice, and we would upsize it to try to prevent that from happening.
Or add one.
And that's what I said we're going to do with the pipes we're looking at now. We're going to add an additional pipe to increase.
Well, I've got one more question, I'll leave you alone. Were you the lady who was up looking at the gas line situation? Yeah. I guess that's somebody from Bristol up there in that curve at the gas line. They will lose it there every time. It's a landowner problem. It's a gas line problem. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, if we could get that water back in the creek instead of coming down their road, it would be able to handle it with enough pipe. But when the road becomes a creek, we've lost all hope for it working.
His driveway coming down through the field.
Yep.
And they're off right away, we don't have any control.
But do y'all intend to do something about your part of it?
Yeah, we're looking, and she's working on the drainage now, drainage folks in Bristol, on sizing the pipes. but we're gonna increase that double line that's there to 3 lines, and we're also increasing the volume to the size of the pipe.
So they'll require some fill material in there. And then he's got to fix his problem if you raise the road up.
Yeah, and we can do, we're gonna do our part, but we can't make him do anything on his private property.
Okay.
And we would hope that he would, because, as you said, his road is coming out and intersecting with Miller's Creek Road. It becomes a channel for all the runoff off that ridge, and unless he could, pipe under his road, get it down to the creek, we're still gonna be battling that issue.
But if you raise your road grade like you can, to put 3 pipes in there, then he's got to fix his problem to get up to your road level.
We would hope that he could do that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Maybe can you help us with Mr. Gilfoyle, maybe talk to him and see if there's something we can do?
I talked to Mama better, get better results.
Does anyone have any more questions for Mr. Russell?
I do, Sherry's Road. I had a complaint. It needed to be at minimum scraped and the ditches cleaned out. Mr. Bear stopped with the same thing.
The road would like to be considered for the 6-year plan. Next year. Sheriff Road.
How long is it?
About one point, I think I just reviewed that road, Mr.
Is it Paul?
Had asked me about it, and so I reviewed, I think it's 1.4 miles, and it's actually, I think it's a good candidate for a roll. It would be fairly easy.
So it does fit in Rural Rusty.
Jeff, with you told me 500,000 that you got out of high traffic this time, and you just saved 1.6, 160,000. So does that mean that we got almost $700,000 more going into next year's maintenance budget?
I think the $160,000 will be additional money in the sense, but the 500,000, I think last year when we programmed it, she made the assumption
That we were going to get
that we were
some.
going to get it and didn't count it against
Well,
the 6-year plan last year.
Will that 500 go as far as it'll go?
Right.
I mean, if it goes past the mansion on toward Red Hollow?
I'm thinking it goes right past the mansion, probably 400 or 500 yards.
Okay. But these jobs that get allocated, are we doing them till the money runs out?
Yes,
Okay.
that was the maximum. The last time we applied, it was 300,000. This time they upped it to 500. So if we apply next year, one more round would complete the Major Graham all the way through.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else for Mr. Russell?
I
Stephen?
have a couple items, if you could. Just any update, Grouse Ridge Road and AEP, I understood they were having a little bit of a right-of-way concern between the poles. I don't know if anybody had any information on it.
I talked to them yesterday. They were working, there's a gas line. They have a right of way through there, and that's where they're running into some issues with the gas line right away. So I told him I would meet him on site. I think he said he's doing a lot of storm damage repair right now, and he said he'd call and we'll go and look at it.
Thank you for your help on Pump Hollow. We've already discussed it. Just to let the board know, the Progress Park Connector Road, and I don't know if that's going to involve anybody from local office, but we have a meeting on it scheduled for tomorrow with Donnie Necessary and representatives from the Bristol District. Scott Bortz, our county engineer, is coming in, lining up all the details between our revenue sharing project and our smart scale application to make sure all the funding and everything works on it. So we have a meeting on it tomorrow, trying to finalize that.
On what?
On the Connector Road project and our smart scale application on it. Last thing before I get to my other point, Mr. Hale just asked earlier in the meeting, at exit 80 where they're redoing the gas station there on the northwest corner. Are they revising any entrances or anything? Have they submitted anything to you all in that?
They have, they're taking one out. There's 3 there now, and they're removing one, so there should be one on 121, Route 121, and one on frontage road.
My concern that in the next 25 years, you're going to have to buy that property if you're ever going to fix that end of that interchange. And I think the county would have some input in to make sure they don't build out into that corner, so tax dollars have to buy that new structure back. You follow what I'm saying? You can't, since the answer to all problems now is a roundabout, you gotta have more room at these short intersections. So that means some very expensive property is gonna have to be purchased to get a 140-foot roundabout in there.
From what I understand, what the plans show is just parking down in that corner.
Okay.
No structures.
And no deceleration lane, nothing happening.
No, nothing's changing on the roadway.
Okay.
The last item I've got, Jeff, we're getting ready to go out, I don't know if you can join us or not, look at Buckley Drive. From my understanding, it's been a road that's been in the system, I guess, since the interstate was built. Cut the road off through there, but I don't know of any time in the last 40, 50 years, whatever, that the road's actually been constructed up through there, and I didn't know if you had any comments on that before we went out there, because it's warmer to stand in here and talk about it than stand out there and talk about it.
Buckley Drive, the road used to go all the way from Route 11 across the interstate into what is the racetrack road and tie back in down on Blacklick. Used to be one road. In the 60s, they built the interstate. It split the roads. And at that point, the road, Buckley Drive, was 0.13 miles long, basically served one property. And I assume that's Mr. Buckley, right? And at some point, they built a building, a structure, right in the middle of the road. Now, if you go out there today, I think what we're going to see is behind that structure is nothing more than a field. It hasn't been maintained in years and years. I assume VDOT in the department didn't push the issue. It was basically a dead-end driveway that had a stake number on it. And I don't think we've even been maintaining any of it at this point, is my understanding. But it does still have a stake number on it. Mr. Buckley passed away, and I think he gave the property, part of it to one person, part of it to another person. At some point, it was brought up, reestablishing that right-of-way, making them move the building. And even if the building wasn't there, we would not go in there and make wholesale improvements to the road. We maintain roads as they are. We don't make improvements. Only through the 6-year plan do we make improvements. So our recommendation, and I've been in touch with the Attorney General's office, is that we don't need to be spending public dollars to maintain a road that basically serves as a driveway. And our recommendation is to abandon the roadway. So that's what we support.
What was the Attorney General's opinion about somebody building private structure on VDOT right of way?
He's about in the same shoe. How did this happen?
Well,
number one. But now that it has happened, we really don't want to get in the middle of an argument. Probably that structure was built by the guy that owned the whole parcel. It wasn't a problem until he split the property, and now it's became an issue, so.
Well, my concern is if we abandon it, are we taking away the right of way from the landowner? Which I'm a big property rights person.
I think that landowner still has access to that property. And that right-of-way you're speaking of that the building's sitting on was non-existent when he inherited the property also.
But I think if something changes and he wants to subdivide the property,
what I want to get on the land. If we can subdivide the property, because it's obvious that we got somewhere down the line got the ball and allowed them to have it.
It was something that happened that wasn't caught and addressed at the time. But
If he wants to subdivide the property, he has road frontage on Route 11.
right. He still has access.
And I believe the building that's there has recently been like re-sided. or
Right,
whatever,
it's
but
been-
The structure itself has been there for
Many years.
many years. We'll ride out there and pull up the driveway part of it and look at it, and if we need to, we'll circle back around and come back on the interstate and look at it on the backside as well if we need to when we come back to the school.
So what do you, I know we're talking about, doing away with it, but does one landowner object to us doing this and landowner
There's a
don't?
landowner that owns both sides, that owns all the land on the right, all the way back, and then owns, I'll say, half of it on the left going in. And then the other landowner owns the back half from there to the interstate.
So we're talking about not only vacating it from the state system, but vacating the right-of-way completely.
Just, it would come all the way back to Route 11.
Whose property? Both of them? Is it split
It goes down the middle of the road.
middle of the road?
And whoever owns property on what side of the road owns, so the person who owns both sides of the road owns that road
That's the drive,
without an easement for that.
like,
It reverts to the owner on both sides of the road.
and I think he owns about from there all the way back to.
I guess if whoever owns that land on that side of the, on that side of the easement.
Thank you, Jeff. I didn't mean to put.
You're doing your job, and I tried to explain it to him, and, I let him know that you all stay on. It's on the schedule. Why it isn't done yet, but it will be done. Two different animals when you're talking about plant mix and slurry, so.
Well, we appreciate you coming, and, I hope I tried to explain it the best way, the way I knew how to explain it to him, but,
And I don't know, 20 years seems like a long time to say that nothing's been done in 20 years. I can't, I'd have to go back and look at my records, but I would think it had been something done in the last 20 years. At any rate, it is on the schedule to be done and will be done, so.
Stephen, can you get us a updated list? You gave us one last year with the 6-year plan and the roads that they've already looked at and qualified, and they like them. Just when we're not in the middle of budget season, kind of look at some of the roads.
I don't know if you have an updated list. I can send what we did last year, basically the road y'all looked at that was eligible for roll rust if he wants it. So if you got any updates, feel free to send it, but I'll send you what I got from last year.
And it's not complete. I mean, that's something we need to work on our end, but it does take a whole lot of time to look at every road and evaluate it. But we are working towards getting a updated list, so.
If you have roads in mind that maybe your constituents have mentioned to you that you want us to look at, if we haven't looked at them, we'll be back.
I'll be honest with you, there's a few roads on the list, I can't remember which one.
which one's qualifying one?
We kind of, last year, we made a decision, we kind of relaxed it a little bit and said, if we can get 14 foot of pavement in lieu of 16, that's something we can evaluate, so. If we try to make it happen, if there's any way we can, so. At the same time, you don't want to pave a 12-foot wide road and create a hazard, so.
I got one person I don't know if y'all ever encountered that.
Coy, I did want to mention that, and we did request another speed study down there on 94 below Lots Gap in those curves. And I asked them to lower it, and they wouldn't approve it.
I read that somewhere that
They did do it the other, and I asked them, and they didn't want to lower it, so.
well, the problem is they wanna run around there at 60 mile an hour, and then when they come in that curve right, they run about halfway up on that bank. Then they're in the middle of that ditch. Ain't got nowhere to go. That one guy, he must have been flying. He went flung up that bank and hit a tree.
So the neighbor, I went and met with him, the neighbor said he was barely moving.
I got the truck.
After he hit the tree.
I got the truck, yeah.
That's everybody's saying.
But,
That's 60. Knocked the motor from back
to
in.
me, it looked like he was driving too fast. There is a spot right there that we are going to do, if they haven't already done it, we're going to widen the shoulder, try to give them a little more recovery area.
That in the curve, right in the curve.
It's right in that guy's driveway.
Driveway.
I don't remember his name, but the gentleman that wrecked had ran off right there, hit his culvert, and went up the bank. It's right there prior to his
I
driveway.
think that's really what bothers him. He'd be out there in that driveway working on an old car or something. And somebody come around there and run over him.
And you got to understand, I mean, we have signs, you've mentioned, we've got boo-doos of signs, and they still don't pay attention, so.
Well, they got signs.
People that like to put speed bumps in, you want him to come put one on over there?
I've got him on my list.
They got 50 mile an hour speed limit signs there, but they also got some 30, 35 mile an hour speed limit faster.
That's caution, that's our recommended speed, so.
Yeah.
That's what but signs are only as good as the people that read them and want to adhere to them, so. But I thank y'all. Anybody have any other requests or?
I need Jonestown Road scraped, if y'all get a chance to do it.
It's still staying, eventually full.
Yeah, it's still there. It's got a few potholes in it.
Mr. Chairman, if you want to recess and we'll reconvene out at Buckley Drive. We've got a couple county vehicles out here for everybody that wants to do, and then we'll go to the school board after that.
Okay. We'll be in recess and reconvene at Buckley Drive.